Here we go, peg 35. See what he plays. If he plays. There we go. Okay, I'll maybe try for a Nimzo Indian, if I can. Yeah, I get a Nimzo. How nice. You don't always get what you want in this world. So this is the same-ish variation. I'll go ahead and take here. Black, or white. White accepts some damaged pawns. Black gives up the bishop pair. And white can get a fast attack going sometimes with the pawn on e4. A lot of times you can get a quick pawn to e4 here. Take over the center. You don't mind losing this pawn. If white actually takes there, he has these tripled pawns, which you can win one of them back with a move like queen here with a fork. But anyway, that's not usually played. Or you can just leave him there and bring your knight out. So he's brought his bishop there looking at this kind of hole in my structure. So if I just castle and he pushes the pawn, I take and he takes, and then I can push this pawn forward. So yeah, I can castle here. I have to be a little careful when I put the knight out because this pawn will come forward with the tempo. He can play that, huh? Is that any good though? Okay, well, let's save the rook. He won a pawn, but then his bishop will be here. Oh, he goes for the tripled pawns. Okay. Well, his bishop is here, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, the other move I was considering there, maybe it would have been better, would have been to play d6. But, well, let's see. I mean, he can't really chase my knight away from here. So can he get anything going? Or is this just a weird thing that he's played? So I'm thinking I push this pawn, I lift my rook, and then I bring my knight back to take his bishop. You know, it's a lot of trouble to win that square back. But it's a bit annoying to have it there. The other thing after lifting the rook is I could I could also play b6 here. He can't take because he will... Oh no, he's not losing it yet. His queen's defending it. So b6 would undefend the bishop. Okay, well, let's play actively with the knight here. You know, he's got knight to this square harassing my rook, so let's go ahead and stop that. Knight to this square. Would be a little bit annoying. Now I'll play here. His bishop can't move. It's lost, but then he'll have a pawn here, which will still be annoying. But I can play b6 then. And bishop to b7. So get good squares for my pieces. And just not worry about that pawn. Oh. I could have forked his queen and knight there, of course. That would have been good, too. Played that move too quickly. So, yeah, starting right here. I take, he takes, and then I push. Just wins a piece. So he retreated. Looks like he noticed that. Let's develop. Okay, this is a double purpose move. It's attacking that pawn, and it's threatening this push. I wanted to play f5 so I could play e4 here. The fork no longer works because he's got this square too well covered, but if I had a pawn there, so, and normally you can play pawn to f5 right away, but normally your rook is on f8. Yeah, so, and that was the other reason I wanted to play it, because I thought he might go there with his knight. So now this is just a loss, because I am going to get an e5. Anyway, yeah, my opponent is playing in a very funny style. Because this was pretty obvious, I thought, the idea of f5. I mean, I played it there. That was the other reason I wanted to play it, was to keep his knight out of the e4 square. So I wanted to have that as an answer. Okay, so he's going there. I'm going to go for the fork. He's going to, I guess, sacrifice the knight for 2 pawns. Or the bishop. And now, well, let's, I can harass his queen. Yeah, so does the knight move with check here? Yeah, the knight does move with check, but then I take it. So I could move my knight here, hitting his queen. He takes my knight, I take his knight. But why should I straighten out his pawns like that? How about I just go here, hitting his queen this way. I can now trade off the knight and grab a pawn. And his queen's got to move. Needs to move somewhere where the knight is defended. So here, I could come forward here, or I could go back along this diagonal. Those are the only moves I see here. So he decided to go there. Just take. You know, I can't grab that pawn right away. I take it all back because his queen is looking at my rook there. So let's grab one of these doubled C pawns. That'll help me. That will help me. Round up this advanced D pawn, which is still kind of a thorn in my side. The one thing you can say about white's play is that this advanced pawn is pretty annoying. But I don't know how good it was. In reality, he had to pay a price for it. Of course, he didn't need to lose a piece there. He could have played that part better. So queen there, hitting this pawn, hitting this pawn. So let's take here. Yeah, once again, he stopped me from taking over here. Oh, I could have taken with the rook, I guess. There we go. Defending the pawn, defending the pawn. He planned to take that other pawn anyway. I think he can resign now. All right. Yeah, that's what you get for planning your moves ahead of time. This pawn is loose here, so he probably planned to bring his queen in. That way. Let's see. Let's go back to the analysis board. So if I, what else did I have here? I mean, I might have taken a pawn here. Then he could take, defending here. Can still take here. Anyway, yeah, this is just not going to be good for white. And then back up even earlier. Right here. Yeah, so already I think he's in trouble here with the play. I mean, he can't defend the bishop, so he's going to end up with a pawn there, which can be annoying. So this is not the end of the world. I took, he took. But yeah, okay, so his big mistake was putting the queen on that square, because now I can just go here. And knight here to hit my rook is not happening because, well, no matter where the knight goes, even if it comes here, I can just take his queen. So the queen has to move. And then going back one step further, before I played, I played the rook out before playing h6. So right here, he could have played the knight here, which would have been unwelcome. So I should have prepared this a little bit better. Seems like, though, I have time to play this up and then this up. And he'll still have trouble defending this guy. I mean, it's defended, but I can trade it off, and it won't be a bishop there. And I'll be able to develop on the queen side. So, yeah, I don't think this is a particularly good way for white to play. Anyway, let's get another game here. Get a rapid game this time. There we go. Schach ist doof. So he's a German player, I take it. Chess is doof. I'll play e4, I guess. Oh, someone who plays the French. Often leads to interesting play, so I play it as black. I like to play against it as white, both. I don't think this is any good. But here, let's pause to think about it now. I have a slower time control, and I'm playing a higher rated opponent, so I may actually know how to play this line. I mean, most people, the way they play it, I just simply win a pawn in the center, and they have no compensation. There should be some compensation, not enough, but there should be some. Still, you start with taking here, I'm pretty sure. If he takes, then you just take, and he takes, and then you take this pawn. I mean, that's pretty simple. You're just a pawn up. If he goes like this, then once again, he takes, you take, you're just a pawn up. This is another Marshall gambit. It's not the good one in the Louis Lopez, but the bad one in the French or Sicilian. I think you can also get into this from a line in the Sicilian. So it's sometimes called the Marshall Sicilian. Yeah, maybe that's how you get the pawn back. Okay, so my opponent here is playing better than what I usually see. So now I can't take his pawn because my queen is hanging. I could pin his knight. So I put the bishop here. And then if he kicks my bishop, take the knight. He takes. It would at least mess up his pawns over here. If we trade queens, I can trade queens and then take the pawn. So he'll probably just defend with the bishop. So let's see if we can calculate this out. I play my bishop out. He defends, unpins his knight. Now here, if I trade, he takes back with the bishop and it hits my queen. And I have to move my queen again. So probably I won't trade. So I'll just use this as an opportunity to keep developing. Maybe I'll castle queenside too. Okay, we'll see what he plays here. So now I castle queenside. He can just take here because I'll take the bishop, he takes back. But is there a problem on the back rank? So how's this go? I castle, he takes the pawn. I take the bishop. He takes back. I wonder what would happen if I threw in a check first. So I play the check. You can't block with the knight. Or can he? He can block with the knight because my queen is pinned. I mean, because the pawn is pinned against my queen. Then I could take the knight. Check, and he could take it again. Let's just castle. Then I can start to think about some of these other ideas. He castles too. So I don't have the check anymore. But now I can take the pawn. So instead of castling, he should have grabbed the pawn. I'm pretty sure that was the way to play that. It is going to open up the f-file for his rook, so I may have a problem here. Something to think about. If he takes with the pawn, he can take with the bishop, and that helps his development. And then I'll just develop. But I am just a pawn up for not enough compensation, as I say. Okay, so he's got the idea of bishop here, hitting my rook and attacking this pawn. I can drop my rook back here to defend. So I should just develop. This also defends my bishop. There was this idea of moving the knight with a discovered attack on my bishop. Maybe. Depends on what the knight is attacking. But anyway, it's always better to have the bishop defended here. And where to? Let's see. If I put the bishop here, he'll probably just develop his knight, hitting my rook. Well, he's probably going to do that anyway. The question is where is that bishop better positioned? I think here is okay. If he kicks it again, I'll drop back here. I just didn't see any advantage to putting it on this square, because he'll just move the knight out, and I'm not really threatening to take the knight anyway, I don't think. Yeah, so all the way back with the rook. And then develop my bishop. And so black, yeah, so black got some kind of edge in development out of that transaction. And any time he can play the knight here, defending his bishop, so it's not really pinned. Although, let's see, if he goes here and I take the knight goes here, I take it, and he takes the bishop, I take back, he takes the knight, I take back. Okay. So, well, that's not too hard to decide what to play there. I guess I could have thought of sacrificing, but don't believe it's worth it in this case. Now I can put a knight on this square if he pushes again. So my next plan is to develop this bishop, maybe here, maybe here. Okay, he is kind of jumping the gun here a little bit, but what do I mean by that? I mean, he's threatening to take my knight and then take this pawn here. And if I kick the bishop, he'll take my knight anyway and mess up my pawns. Yeah, jumping the gun, I don't know what I meant by that. Still, I could move the knight. And then when he takes here, I could trap the bishop or try to. Problem is I don't have any great squares to move the knight to. Well, how about knight to a4? He kicks it. Can I go to b5? It doesn't look like it. Here is covered. Or should I just develop and ignore all of that? Well, if I let him take, though, then he will win this pawn, and I won't be able to trap his bishop because my b pawn will have been moved over to the c file. So it seems my choices are moving the knight, defending it. Yeah, it's not so easy to defend. If I defend with the rook, he can start harassing my rook with his bishop and his knight. But does that actually work? I could go here and then here. No, the knight there. Knight here would harass it. Okay, and do I like any of the knight moves? I could go here or here. From here it could go here. Let's move the knight. Well, anyway, he's playing actively and keeping me from finishing my development, so that's a point in his favor. And even though there are no queens on the board, there's lots of force. We have all the minor pieces, all 4 minor pieces and 2 rooks. So it's not like an endgame. It's not safe for the king to come out in general. So he did decide to go for it. Okay, let's go ahead and trap the bishop. Now I was going to go here. I see. He kicked my knight so that he could move his bishop to this square. That's an interesting idea. Dark squared bishop here prevents my king from stepping in and harassing his bishop. Okay, my knight is defended, so let's attack his bishop. I have this bishop here as well as the rook defending it. My rook is loose on the back rank. Maybe that's what he's hoping to exploit there. But at the end of the day, I can give up the bishop if I win. I mean, I can give up that knight if I win the bishop. I don't have to even move it. But at the moment, it's well defended. Okay. His rook is hanging. I mean, his knight is hanging. His bishop is hanging. And yeah, I mean, he can keep playing stuff. But eventually he will run out of things to do here, right? So where do I want my bishop? Could put it over here by the king. Could put it here. Defends a pawn over here. So what's the state? I've got 3 pieces and a rook, and he has 3 pieces and a rook. Okay, so I have not won a piece yet. Not when he took that knight. Yeah, it was just trades. Yeah, I was defended, but of course he could just trade it off. So the key to this game will be whether I actually, in the end, capture this bishop and how much he gets for it. And I just noticed that my knight's protecting this square. If I go there, he'll bring his rook over to defend his bishop. Okay, try and put an end to this nonsense. Keeping control of this square so he can't put his knight there. If he brings his rook over, I'll take his bishop. He will have a pin to exploit, and I will try and unwind in time. Okay, he decided to just give up the bishop. Actually, that pin was looking a bit annoying, so maybe that would have been a better try. Yeah, let's take with the pawn. He still doesn't have the check here because of my knight. Let's develop my bishop. Finally, finally got that piece out. I mean, the other thing he could have tried was rook down here, pinning my bishop against the rook, but I had this idea of moving the pawn forward and playing the bishop here. It takes me 2 moves to unwind, so if he had something he could play in the meantime, that would stop that plan. There might have been something there for him. Okay, he decided to move his rook. I'm going to ignore this pawn that he's about to take and bring my rook here. Is that the right thing to do? You have to be careful. His knight can come into here and here. Okay. Yeah, first we will harass that knight and see where it wants to go. It might just stay there. Yeah, it went there. Okay, the next thing I want to do is move my knight here. I move my king here. So that I can get this bishop into the game and try and control some of these squares along this file. You know, he can play the pawn there. That's annoying. It is annoying. Yeah. Trying to keep control of this square. I don't want his rook coming in here to check my king again. Okay, next I'm going to activate the bishop to this square, hitting his knight. Where can his knight go to? It's got this square. That square, I take it. That square doesn't look very likely. Yeah, it's trapped there. This square, I take it. This square, I trade. Yeah, take it here. So he goes here. I will kick it. Where does he go from there? Back here, here, here. I think I'm forcing him back here. He's got two pawns for the piece at this point, so I have to do something. I have the bishop pair. He has the knight pair. Knights are very tricky. I was more worried when he had his knight here. It kept my king from coming to this square, and if my king went to this square, then he had this check with that knight. Oh, my knight was guarding. Okay. Well, let's try and... no, he's just going to kick. Let's harass his knight. Trades are not good for him, so I don't expect him to push that pawn again. Yeah, he retreats. Now, coming forward, he's hitting this pawn. I don't want to give it up, so I want to push it. And he's these squares. He's a little short of squares here, isn't he? I can trade off. I can trade off at least one knight. Make my job a little easier. Okay. Next stage is to attack these pawns. Let's lift the rook. His knight can't attack that rook. Okay, I will defend my bishop there. I will step aside with my king just to free up my bishop. Yeah, there is a problem. I have to be careful which way I step. So I go here. He takes, I take to defend the bishop. Oh, I'll have to take with the bishop. That's the way to handle it. This pawn is weak now. So he goes there. Okay. Where is his knight going? Just avoid the knight checks. If I put the king on a light square, there's no knight check. And I'm threatening this pawn. King is in front of his passer. His knight is on a good square. He is blockading me. Could maybe target this pawn with my rook from the front, but not here. I would have to move my rook there somehow. But the immediate problem is that, yeah, I'm just going to take here. If he takes here, I take with the bishop. He can skewer my bishops, but that just gets him a piece back for a piece. I'll be a piece up. Okay, he resigned. Well, I'm glad he didn't force me to prove I could win this position. It's still complicated. I should be able to win it, but I can still make mistakes in this kind of game too. Anyway, that's it for this session, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.